your article about the Washington Nationals. I'm going to start here. Would a lot of this likely be solved if they were more like the version of the Nats for a 10-year span not long ago? Hate to be that guy, but when they were a top 10 payroll team, even a top 15 payroll team, you wrote about how they're now a bottom 10 payroll team for years. When I watch this team, I see some good pieces, but I also say, man, if they played in free agency for a starter or two and a big position player like a Pete Alonso or an Alex Bregman, they might be a little sneaky wild card contender. What are your thoughts?
Scott, that's definitely part of it, the lack of spending, but it's not all of it. And that's what the article really is about, how, yes, they haven't spent like they did in the 2010s, and that has hurt them. But they also, until perhaps maybe the last draft or two, they have not drafted well at all. And I kind of go into detail about how since 2013, they've only drafted and developed 3 players who have career B WARs above 5. Now, 5 B WAR is basically what Dalton Varsho had an entire season last year. Zach Neto, they were around 5 B WAR for the entire season. The Nats have only drafted and developed 3 guys to get to 5 for their careers, and none of them play for the Nationals right now. They all did it elsewhere. I'm talking about Luzardo and Fetty, and there's one more. I'm escaping me right now, but there's only 3. So when you have that, Pavetta's the other one, by the way, when you have that kind of lack of success in drafting and developing and in international since Soto in 2015, which of course was like hitting the jackpot, you're unable to supplement your team in ways that you should, especially when you're not spending. What do the best teams do? They both spend and they develop. And even some of the low revenue teams that can spend, they develop like crazy, and they become the Tampa Bay Rays or the Cleveland Guardians or Milwaukee Brewers, generally contending year after year, with some dips, of course. But the Nationals have not done that to the same level of success that they did way back when they were drafting Strasburg and Harper at the top of the draft. So that's the problem as much as not spending, and that kind of is what the story is about.
Have they been a team that has tried to be innovative? Because really their success was not even in the draft. It was Strasburg, duh. Harper, duh. Rendon, he was the best available. So it was almost like the fantasy football guy who's just like, yeah, auto pick, whoever's the next best available, and they kind of ran into it. Has there been changes in the minor league system in the sense of like, you know what, we've really not developed too much through this system besides our 1-1s?
Well, you can't fault them for hitting on 1-1s, first of all, Eric. There are teams that miss with 1-1s. Pittsburgh's missed with a couple. That is not an automatic. So when you hit on a 1-1, even as obvious as it might be right now to look back at Harper and Strasburg in that sense, you still do it, and you still deserve credit for that. Now, after the 2023 season, Mike Rizzo, the president of baseball operations, made sweeping changes in their operation. New farm director, new scouting director, new international director. They've since replaced that international director with another one. So yes, they are mindful, obviously, of what has happened and that they have not been as successful. Otherwise, you're not making those changes, right? So while clearly in the estimation of some, the 2024 draft, was much better than some of the previous ones. Okay, they've got a ways to go still, and maybe they're on the right track now. But the other issue that I raised in the article is they've got to get going quickly, because Mackenzie Gore, after this year, just 2 years remaining before free agency. CJ Abrams, after this year, just 3 years remaining. And it sounds like a long time, but these are periods in which teams make decisions on players and whether they want to keep them long term. If you remember, the Nationals traded Juan Soto when he had 2+ years of control remaining. Mackenzie Gore is in that exact spot right now. Now, I'm not suggesting they're going to trade Mackenzie Gore or that they should trade Mackenzie Gore when they're still trying to build here. But that is where they are, and we'll see how it all progresses, because the problem is when, say, some of your 2024 draft class and when Dylan Cruz, the 2023 pick, some of these guys come into their own, and James Wood by then is a star, well, then you're facing the losses of Gore and Abrams, and you're just not lined up the way you ideally would like to be. It's not always perfect. We all know that. But that is what they're facing right now, because this rebuild has been going on. This is year 6, essentially. They started playing poorly, 6 straight losing seasons. This will be the 6th straight in 2020. Since the 2019 World Series, this is worth noting. Since the 2019 World Series, they have the 3rd worst record in the majors, 3rd most losses in the majors. Only the Pirates and Rockies have fewer. And actually, the Pirates win last night. They're tied with the Nationals. So actually, the Nationals are tied for the 2nd most losses. Not good.
Ken, just real quick, how much is this on Mike Rizzo? I know that you mentioned that he changed this and that, but wasn't that his background was development, drafting? He's a scout, right? Drafting development. So how much of this falls on him? I mean, I know it's an organizational failure, but to me, it seems like, dang, this is what Mike Rizzo was supposed to be great at.
Certainly, when you're the president of baseball operations and you have a scouting background and your drafts have not been good, there is a measure of responsibility that falls on Rizzo. And yes, ownership is part of this too, a big part of it, because the resources for other things have not necessarily been there. And maybe the resources, even for the amateur side and the international side, haven't been there as well. I'm not entirely sure of that. But absolutely, Rizzo has a measure of responsibility. He also said, this was in 2022, that this was going to be a shorter reboot. Well, it's 2025 and we're still going. So sure, he's the president of baseball operations. He is someone who is responsible, but it's never just one person in any of these situations.
All right, let's go to the NL West for a little bit, Ken. Are they going to be just eating each other alive in the sense that they're just going to beat each other up at the top of the order, at the top of that division, and ultimately kick one of them out of the playoffs? Because besides the Rockies, there's 4 teams out there that are just going to beat each other up night in and night out, playing the rest of the season out, and essentially eliminating 1, if not 2, of the teams from that division.
Certainly possible, Eric. Now, you do have the Rockies to balance that out, of course. Those are theoretically easier wins. But yeah, and in the NL West, you have the Dodgers with all of their injuries still leading the division. You have the Giants, who of late have not hit. You have the Padres, who are somewhat thin, and with Michael King now questionable, you worry about them and just how long they can keep this going. They've kind of rallied back a little bit the last couple of days after a little bit of a swoon, because 1 or 2 injuries and they could be in trouble. And then there are the Diamondbacks, who have probably been the most disappointing team in the division, blew a 6-0 lead to the Pirates last night. They just have not yet clicked the way they want to click. Obviously, bullpen injuries have played a role in that. But when you look at the division as a whole, okay, we're not even in June yet. All kinds of things are going to happen. And yes, it's possible they'll beat each other up. The schedule is not as imbalanced as it once was. That helps. But there are 4 very strong teams, and that's going to be an issue going forward, no doubt.
How do you solve a bullpen problem like this if you're Arizona and you're missing guys that obviously are high leverage? You can't do much until closer to the trade deadline. And this is a similar problem to what they dealt with last year. We went over how, these games like yesterday could make all the difference in their season. They were a good team last year. Their bullpen wasn't great. It burned them at times during the regular season. They won 89 games, fell just short. The team that I watch some nights looks like they can beat anyone in a playoff series.
Agreed. And certainly at the deadline, it's going to be a focus of attention. There's no doubt about that. Justin Martinez is back. He seemingly is a guy that, if he's right, can really be a stalwart in that bullpen. He's shown it before. But yeah, they are depleted right now, and it's hurting them. There's no question about that. It's tough because it is not yet even June, as I just mentioned, and we're 2 months away from the deadline. So you're not going to see a lot of urgency from teams either on the buy or sell side to make moves. Teams perhaps would like to buy, like the Diamondbacks, but yet at the same time, if you're a team with a reliever and you're thinking about trading him, you're kind of a non-contender, you're saying, hey man, price is only going to rise. And if you want my guy now, you're going to pay a premium. So that's why trades are so difficult until we get closer to the deadline and the urgency increases for everyone involved on both sides. The Diamondbacks do have this issue. They're going to have to address this issue to a greater extent than they're doing right now. I don't know that they would argue that point. And it's something that could, yes, determine the outcome of their season.
Talking about the Giants for a little bit. can a team that is solely based on pitching and defense, because with Jung Ho Lee having slowing down a little bit, no longer MVP candidate, can a team with pitching and defense really run through a tough gauntlet? Because if they give up any runs, essentially the game is over, because they don't manufacture runs. Bob Melvin's inability to call the steal sign is evident in a game that's now stealing more bases. Do they have to reinvent how they're going to win games, or is it just going to be 3-1, 2-0 type of games the whole season?
They need better performances out of 4 positions: catcher, first base, second base, and shortstop. And that's where Willy Adames plays. They are well below average in each of those spots. So that's a huge problem, right? It doesn't matter about stealing bases when you are not getting offensive production out of 4 out of 9 spots. Now, Gerard Encarnacion is on a rehab assignment. He could be an option at first base. Lamont Wade Jr., for whatever reason, has just really struggled. They are a team that, yes, I would imagine is active in pursuit of offense at the deadline. To answer your question, Eric, you can't simply win with pitching and defense. You have to score, and they know that. And it's going to be something that is going to kind of linger over this team until they do address it. Maybe Encarnacion helps. Maybe Willy Adames comes around and finally starts playing like the player he can be. And then you worry less about those other spots because it's 1 or 2 spots then, and then you're not dealing with 4. Patrick Bailey, the catcher, is another guy who can do more than he has. So clearly they need to hit better and more. But right now it's, yes, the huge problem with the team.
If you're a card collector or you'd like to get into card collecting, may I suggest Arena Club and slab packs, which means that you can rip the packs digitally and, of course, get the card that you want. It's also the most trusted name in the game, and I would rather rip packs these days on my phone than sit next to you and have you grabbing one of my physical packs if I was grabbing one.
Yeah, you don't need me grabbing your packs, because last time you grabbed one, it ended up like this card. So let's not have that, and that's why Arena Club is great. They send them to you in these fancy protectors like this Scout Braun card that we have here, and they'll come safe. They're already graded. Or you could do like I do and just leave my cards in the showroom and never actually see them physically.
Yeah.
But they're safe, protected, and if I want to sell them, I can.
Buy, sell, trade. They offer full transparency, showing every card in the slab pack with the likelihood of pulling each one, so you know exactly what's available before you buy. Get 20% off your first slab pack or card purchase by going to arenaclub.com/FAL and use code FAL. The last 2 things I wanted to cover here, Ken, a couple articles and reports put out by your colleagues at The Athletic. So I'll let you go dealer's choice here. We've got Patrick Mooney reporting on the fact that the Cubs could have a little combo with Pete Crow-Armstrong for extension talks. And then on the business side of things, Dan Hayes covering essentially how the Twins are still for sale. It's been almost 9 months, so they could have had a baby during that time. And they're holding firm on their $1.7 billion for their asking price. And that's why they're holding the team hostage and not allowing fans to experience trades and signings. So what are your thoughts on these 2?
I'll hit both. And the PCA conversation is ongoing and it's interesting. But if I'm PCA, I'm not signing anything right now. I'm establishing myself as an elite player. And it's different with position players with extensions than it is with pitchers. Position players have less risk of injury and suffering a catastrophic kind of thing. Yes, it's happened to Acuna twice. He's also come back twice, and he is going to be okay. He, of course, had a contract that entire time. But my point is, PCA is on the upswing. And if you're PCA, I am quite sure you believe in yourself and you don't believe this is a fluke, and you believe that your price will only increase over time. So maybe at some point you sign an extension, but I can't imagine right now the Cubs putting forth an offer that would be tempting enough for him to say, you know what? Okay, I'll give up a couple of years of free agency. I'll take my security now. No, he is becoming a star. He is becoming potentially a huge star. And if I'm him, I wait. Now, as for the Twins, you got it right, Scott. They are holding firm, according to the report from Dan Hayes this morning, on their $1.7 billion asking price. And they're right entirely. They, at least according to the source Dan talked to, are making some progress here. They've got people interested. They've got some groups ready to go. And it's just a matter now of getting to the right price. it is up to them to make this determination. And whether they can get 1.7 billion remains to be seen. If they do, well, that's their goal, and that will be a success by the Pohlad family's definition. If they don't, well, we'll see what happens. And it's always interesting to me to hear this kind of thing where a team says, we're holding out for this, we want this. Well, maybe you get it and maybe you don't. And the question becomes, what if you don't? And one thing that Dan raises in the article, and this is a concern for all teams that might be entertaining sale possibilities, is the threat of a lockout after the 2026 season. There is uncertainty right now with what your revenues are going to be, even beyond the cord-cutting situation with cable and all of the things going on with the local TV streaming rights and all of that. You have a worry, if you're a potential owner, about where this sport is going. And that is one of the things here that with this labor uncertainty, with the endless war between the Players Union and MLB, the sport has to deal with, and ownerships have to deal with. It's on them as well, because of course they're part of this. But that's something that it's going to be really interesting to see how it plays out, Scott, because there is that uncertainty and there is that concern among prospective buyers, I am sure, about where this sport is headed from a labor relations standpoint.
Ken, I'm watching. The Mets are not playing right now, the White Sox. We were supposed to interview Pete Alonso, but we got you instead because they switched their game time. First of all, how good is Brett Baty been?
A little bit of a disappointment, AJ. I'm sorry, man.
Yeah, you ain't kidding. You ain't kidding, Ken. But Brett Baty is up right now. How good has he been? Because we just saw him on Saturday, and then I have a follow-up once you finish.
He's been really good. And it's cool to see a guy who gets sent down, whose future in the organization is in question, who seemingly loses his third base job to Mark Vientos and has no opening at second base with McNeil and Luis Angel Acuna there. And yet here he is forcing his way back into the equation. And as I said on the broadcast Saturday, he told me his confidence is coming from his pregame work, that he feels so good about what he's doing off a multi-speed machine or a multi-pitch machine, a machine that throws curveballs, sinkers, four-seamers, whatever you got. And then his work with the infield coach, Mike Sarbaugh, at third and also second, that it's carrying into the games. So I always love in our sport, and you see it a lot, when guys get knocked down and they get back up. And he is a classic example of that. He's playing with a ton of confidence right now, and it shows in every aspect of his game.
Agreed. So congratulations to you as are in order. 750 games as a sideline reporter. How old are you, Ken?
AJ, I will reveal to you and the rest of the world that I am 62.
Okay, so you've been doing these games since, what, the Polo Grounds were active?
2006.
So almost 20
AJ,
years.
I will say this. So my understanding is that when this was on the broadcast Saturday, it was your doing. You were the guy that told the producer, Pete Machesko, he had to have this on. And not that it ruined the broadcast for me, because actually it was really nice what you said and what Joe said. And I didn't even know about this, so it was really cool to hear it. But the whole night, I'm sitting there outside. It's windy. It's chilly. And all I wanted to say for the broadcast, the only thing I wanted to say was, man, it's colder than AJ's heart out here. But yet, after you did that, AJ, I couldn't say anything bad.
Listen, Ken, you know
You're
what?
turning
And
soft.
I even invited Buster Olney, who's second on that list, to come to the game and celebrate with you. So I don't know what else you want from me. I mean, I had 1 and 2 on the list in the stadium at the same time. So you guys got to celebrate together. So it's a cool
AJ,
accomplishment.
I cannot ask for anything more. You reached out, you were a true friend, and you prevented me from saying anything negative about you during the game. And we know from time to time on the broadcast, we'll get into a back and forth. But no, seriously, thanks. Thanks for that.
You're welcome. It's well deserved, and it's cool that that's you. And I mean, I think if you add up all the rest of them, you're almost more than all of them. So it's an honor, well deserved. Now you're not Joe Davis with his play-by-play Emmy. I don't know if do they have sideline reporter Emmys? Because you should probably have won one by now.
I've won 2, but not for a while.
My bad. Oh, my.
It's been a while since I've won one.
I don't see them because I don't see them behind you. Most people like Scott when he has one. You know, he has the regional, local Somerset, New Jersey cable Emmys. There was one person nominated, but I don't see yours behind you.
AJ, they're in back of me, but I'm not going to adjust the screen so you can see him. I don't know. To me, it's like bragging almost to have that in the shot. We're good.
I agree. Agreed.
Says AJ, who has his YouTube trophy nearby.
No. I have my YouTube trophy right here because I was told I have to have it. So see?
Boom. There you go.
That's pretty cool.
We don't want to brag. Yeah, it is. It is nice. So next one's for
care.
$1 million, but that one is
bragging.
nice. Well, Ken, from all of us, obviously, congratulations. When I saw that number, I was like, 750. I mean, you're Cal Ripken right now. I know you haven't been on. Yeah, I'm sure you've missed one here and there for some family related thing or whatever, but 750 is a big number. You have a large lead in the category. So a lot of respect for what you're doing.
Honestly, Scott, I know this is my 20th year doing games. That I know in my head. Of course, I know when I started. I've never counted the games. So when that came out, and I didn't see that until we put it on the broadcast, I said on the broadcast, that's a big number, and it is a big number. And I'm very lucky to have been working for Fox this long, and lucky that they've had me.
Yeah, absolutely. No, hey, they were counting everything from what I saw in there. I mean, our old friend Sam Ryan was on that list, when she's doing MLB Network games, stuff like that. So there it is one more time. Ken at the top, then Olney, Verducci, Morosi, Aaron Andrews, Sam Ryan. That's your top 6 there. Ken, thank you. Appreciate it. Congrats again. We'll catch you on Thursday on Fair.
Thanks, guys.
Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.